What's up guys, and welcome to Hansween Day 23, which is 31 tutorials in the month of October, meaning a new video every day. I have been dying to do a pinup zombie for a while now, and this little bitch is an old school diner inspired sexy babe, rotting flesh and all. Before we get started, I throw a shit ton of techniques at you guys this tutorial. This is just because I want everyone to be able to take bits and pieces from it and make this their own. If you don't have all the products, that's okay. With that being said, all product details will be listed down below as usual, and let's do it. Alright, for this tutorial we have a little bit of prep work. First up is some latex molds that we're gonna make ourselves with some Model Magic. Fucking love Model Magic. I make a large pancake shape that I can then just use to sculpt out the gums. I'm just using this little spatula to first create exactly where I want the gum lines to be, and then using the bottom of a brush handle to sculpt it out just so it's a little more circular and round. What we're doing is creating a negative shape instead of trying to make the positive shape. So we want it to curve inwards because when we pull this mold out, the gums will protrude out where the root of the teeth would go into. I powdered this a bit and then poured latex into it, let that dry overnight, and pull it out, and you got yourself a set of gums. Powder the shit out of this mold though, just so that the latex doesn't stick in on itself. Now for our gelatin boils. I did this, well, pretty similar in the Alice tutorial if you guys saw it. I had big old boils on my face. Taking two brush handles that are rounded at the ends and some Model Magic and pushing some just circular shapes into the Model Magic. Do these in small clusters. I tried to do a really big one and the gelatin didn't really pull out very well, so I would suggest staying small, or you could do what I did in the Alice tutorial and just work in large 1x1 pieces. Again, creating a negative shape, and then I poured in some Mehron 3D gel after powdering this quite a bit. Try to not pour in too much so it doesn't overflow the sides. Let that dry for a few hours at least. Powder them a lot. Pull out very slowly because you may rip it. I did rip a couple of the clusters, but even if you do, it's okay because once you adhere it to your face, you won't even tell anyways. We're starting by gluing our brows down with a washable glue stick. I do this in many of my videos, so I'll have one of those linked down below for full details. I figure out where I want this prosthetic to lay on my face, and I add a little bit of Pros-Aide down. I did make this previously with a little bit of Monster Paste, and I add some Pros-Aide on the back of it as well. These are prosthetic transfers, so they are supposed to not need anything sticky to hold them down, but unfortunately I didn't get to do the second process of making these because I ran out of time, so this is how I had to make it work. While the Pros-Aide is drying, I'm going to figure out where I want this other little prosthetic that I made. When the Pros-Aide is clear, it's ready to be put on. I also add a little bit where I'm going to have the latex gum mold that we made earlier. You could use any adhesive you like Spirit Gum, but you guys know, I fucking love my Pros-Aide. Put those down and smooth out the edges as much as possible. Same with the latex little gums. Put those down in the area that you want, and then add some little gummy gelatin areas around wherever you want it. I like to cluster them around the prosthetics that we already put down just to show that the skin is irritated, it's gross, it's super nasty all around these cuts that we made. Using cream paint now, I'm mixing up kind of a custom bright green color. I used some yellow, green, and white just so that it was super bright, and put this all over my face. More so not focusing too much on the prosthetics yet, just giving ourselves a general base. Mixing up some 3rd degree, which is a silicone compound. You mix a part A and part B together, and then some of that same cream paint, added a little bit of extra yellow so it'd be super bright. I use that right against the edges of all of the little pieces we already put down. I know I'm throwing so many different techniques at you guys and so many different products this tutorial, but I wanted to show you that you can do this with so many different ways. You could just pick one of these from this tutorial and run with it. To further blend out the edges, I dip my spatula in a tiny bit of 99% alcohol, just because we want this to blend into our skin as much as possible. I really love using this product to build up the skin and also to cover any harsh edges that we do have, and it also will keep it adhered in place. I build up around my nose and around where the rotting flesh of our gums would be showing. Anywhere that you want to hold, just build that up with a little bit of 3rd degree. You have about 10 or so minutes working time with this product before it gets too dry and you can't do it anymore, but it's also nice because if you work in small batches, you can just continue to layer and layer on top of each other to build up any skin that you want to. Using some alcohol paints, I paint the gums pink, and then go in with a little bit more of a red around the tops of the gums and between each gum line. Under the gums where our exposed mouth would be, I add a little bit of red, same in the nose, and darken around the edges just under that skin because that skin that we created would be casting a shadow downwards. Some of that same bloody red goes in these cuts and gashes. You don't have to use alcohol paints, you could use cream. Keeping the eye pretty simple for this, I'm just patting on Acid Berry, which is a very bright green eyeshadow all over the lid, and then Midori just in the outer corners. It's pretty much like a natural smoky eye if our skin was green. Highlight the face with a little bit of white eyeshadow, a little bit onto the high points wherever they are sticking out. And I'm going in now with some green alcohol paint just to add dimension to all of the little crevices of the 3rd degree that we put down the gelatin on top of the little bumps. Highlight the tops of the bumps just a little bit and the tops of any of the kind of jagged pieces of the skin because those would be protruding forward, so they would have a highlight on them. Adding all of these little highlights on top of your paint will help to just intensify the paint job too. Then you'll really see all the little holes and marks and rotting flesh that you made earlier. And just like we highlighted, we got to add some shadow. Go in where the skin would recede downwards. This is in the wrinkles of the flesh. This is inside between each little gelatin bump that we made. Even tried to stick in a little bit of a contour on one side, but just a little bit. A good thing to remember is that prosthetics will bring it 3D, but the paint job will actually bring the look to life. Put a little bit of black eyeshadow around the perimeter of your face and under your jaw. And now to texture out the skin, right now I'm blood splattering a little bit. I'm using a dry brush and it's a little bit of water activated red body paint and splattering that, and then using a veining technique where you pull some little holes out of a sponge. I've used it in quite a few of these Hansween tutorials before, and I'm using blues and greens to add a lot of under the skin looking veins around. Apply some Pros-Aide where you are going to put the teeth. I decided to only have 3 teeth. She lost all her others, I don't know. And while that's drying, I took advantage of the time and added a little bit of water-activated yellow paint. I know it looks green, but it is bright-ass yellow, just because I wanted this to be a little more on the neon side. When the Pros-Aide was dry, I did make these little teeth out of the Elimorph plastic, which is essentially polymorph plastic. I applied those and then painted those with a little bit of alcohol paint. And what do you know? I painted them yellow because I just can't paint white teeth. I hate them. Add a little bit of black instead underneath that jawline because since it's hollow in our mouth, it would be black. What would a pinup zombie be without her beautiful bright red lips? I'm using Jeffree Star's Red Rum Velour Liquid Lipstick. It dries completely matte, so I'm just putting that all over, overlining a little bit, and smudging on one side just a smidge. Accentuated that beauty mark, you know. A big wing liner is also going to sell this look. I'm using a felt tip liner like I always do, and I first like to sketch out the line and then I fill it in. What helps me is to look down at a mirror so that I can see my eyelid fully when drawing out the shape. I noticed that the shadows like in the nose and on the top of the gums weren't quite as dark as I wanted them, so I darkened those with a tiny bit of black alcohol paint and popped on some lashes. Clearly, this isn't the most realistic depicted zombie, so some of the blood that I wanted it to be bright red to really play up the bright red in our costume and our lips. I'm using the water-activated paint again and some water to let it just drip down my face. I did a few really large ones down from my nose, a couple from around my gums. Then just grabbed my coagulated blood and filled those wounds in with just a very thin layer so it looked nice and shiny. Also added the littlest bit of scab blood because it gives a really chunky appearance. We want that chunky. Splatter on some more blood. I did this all over my costume too. And your arms and legs do show in this costume, which need to be green as well, but I bypassed the legs by wearing white opaque tights. But you do want to paint your arms green with some water-activated body paint because it won't smudge and it'll stay in place. And that is the entire tutorial. I really hope you guys like it. I love the shit out of it. It's probably one of my favorites. I felt super cute and sassy in it. Thank you so much for watching. I love the fuck out of you guys. You know this, or at least I hope you do. Use the hashtag Hansween so I can see your recreations or just see your work. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will just see you tomorrow.
Turd cutter. There's nothing grosser than calling a butthole a turd cutter, by the way.